treatment, the poor treatment patients received, the lack of dignity, especially for persons living with HIV, and especially for women living with HIV, who are often blamed and experience violence in many forms. But today, I'll be talking about the violence that is happening in this beautiful country that most of us run to for refuge, for economic refuge, and even for social and human rights refuge. I would rather be in Nigeria running an organization that I founded 10, 15 years ago that is thriving. But I'm here because of issues associated with domestic violence. But I'm the lucky one. Anyone that had experienced domestic violence here, if you are proud to raise your hand, at least for being a survivor, raise your hands and know that you are the lucky ones. Well, I don't even need to define what intimate partner violence means. Oftentimes we think intimate partner violence is when somebody beats you, hits you. Oftentimes it is beyond that. It is excessive nagging. It is belittling. It is controlling. Oh, you cannot go to that conference. They're going to feminize you. Oh no, you cannot go there. You cannot. Where are you coming from? Oh, that money, I have to control it. So a lot of things come into that abuse because sometimes you are psychologically and spiritually ripping persons apart. And all that happens before it becomes physical. So by the time it gets to physical violence, you've been killed many times. So, and it does not have any boundary. You know, you think, oh, people that are educated don't experience violence. Or people that are in America don't experience violence. Or beautiful women don't experience violence. Far from it. It affects everybody. And that is why it's an epidemic. Otherwise, why would the world come together today and summit every year to talk about violence against women? You know, you really need to think about it. What are those things that do not protect us? You're supposed to love and cherish and stand in as Christ standeth for the church, right? And we are supposed to respect and care and love you. As my colleague was talking about HIV and women and trying for women to be monogamous. Demanding monogamy might cost you your life. Demanding that your partner use a condom might cost you your life. And that is the situation that is happening here. Okay, so I will talk about the perspective. We're looking at domestic intimate partner violence in America, among the Nigerian community in America. And we're looking at the perspective of the Nigerian nurses in America. I'm a board member of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses in America. And what gave the impetus for the founding of this organization is domestic violence. As a matter of fact, it's not just domestic violence. It's femicide of nurses. By who? The one that was supposed to love and protect them. When we started hearing about nurses being killed by their husbands, if you doubt me, go home today and Google Nigerian nurses killed by their husbands. Are Nigerian nurses an endangered species? We'll see why that is. So when this caught our interest, I did a content analysis. I went on the social media to look at what is really going on here. And I was shocked about the number of about, I think I went through about 14 social media because it was being a discussion. Even people in Nigeria are discussing it. So it is no secret. Why are we not having more outcry? What are the fathers of these women that are being killed? Where are their brothers? What are their uncles? I see only a handful of men here. I would love to see many more men in the forefront who are supposed to be protecting us. But yet we are fighting just us to protect ourselves. Why should that be? But if nobody fights for us, we will fight for ourselves. We will support each other and encourage each other so we can stay alive and raise our children and change the pattern so that our children do not grow up to be abusers. Because when children witness abuse, they are more likely to be abused themselves. Because they think that is the norm, that is the pattern. We have to break it. So when I looked at it, I saw about, can you move up to the fourth slide? Of about 15 cases of women that were murdered that I saw online, 13 of them were nurses. And the circumstances, I started reading to see what is the circumstance of their being killed. Some were killed because they took money to go home and bury their father. Some were killed because they are suspected of infidelity. Some were killed for myriads of reasons. Is there really a reason for any woman to be killed? There's absolutely no reason. If it's not working out, we'll move on. But we are even in a culture where moving on is a taboo. Moving on may cost you your life. So when I looked at that, and we started seeing this violence, the Nigerian nurses, the few of us that are still alive, decided to come together and support each other to understand what is going on so that we can help each other survive. Because yes, there's cause and effect. We start looking at, okay, so we had conferences every year. So we had a conference in New Jersey, we had a conference in California. And during that conference, I presented the finding of my research looking at the content analysis of what people are saying in the social media. Could you move the slide, please? Okay, I've already talked about it. Move it again. Okay, just look at that. Of these cases, the ones that caught my attention, it's not just that people were killed. It is the very violent way that they are killed. Just close your eyes and imagine the person that would hit his wife with a hammer in the head, keep hitting her until she dies. Or with a baseball bat, keep beating her to smithereens while the children are watching. There's one that happened in California. This nurse was shot, but she's not dead. And he tied her on the bonnet of his vehicle and dragged her around the street of California. And her body parts and heads and brain were falling apart. What is happening? What did she do to deserve that? You would think we'll come here and find refuge. Sometimes, as a matter of fact, it is the refuge, it is the fact that our rights and our voice are protected might be because of our death. Okay? So, next slide. So we started looking, this is the reason why after that we started having conversations. So after our presentation, the nurses will come together and discuss this. You know, because this is the reason we're formed anyway. And we're not just going to sit by. So what we're going to do, we want to first of all understand why this is happening. And these are some of the reasons they're happening. Next slide, please. Next slide. No? Okay. Money. Money, money, money. It's a rich man's world. Money, the root of all evil. Isn't that what they said? Money can bring you joy, but it could also kill you. That's right. Okay? I remember being a nurse in Nigeria. I was I'm a great Ife product of Afemi Awolowo University. That's where I did my nursing program. And I know a couple of persons said, oh, Stella, my brother is in America. He wants to marry a nurse. Okay? So I said, okay, sit down. I'm coming. I went to my classroom and I brought my colleague who is a male. And I said, okay, that's a nurse. Your brother can marry him. So the men here go home to marry a nurse to make them what? Money. And the nurse is in Nigeria where they are undervalued and appreciated and has so many burdens. And they are desperate to come to America. So the woman says yes to this man that you don't even really know, just so you can come to America and do what? Make money. That's the truth. But that is not all of it. But that is the pattern. Even where it is, she's not a nurse. When she comes over here, there's also pressure for you to become a nurse. Often because it's a profession that you could enter from the lowest strata and start from being a nurse aide. Okay? Let me give you a case. Just watch this. This woman was brought to America. She just finished high school. She doesn't even have a degree. She's very young. Maybe the person that brought her is probably 60 years old. Okay? She comes in here happy to come to America so she can bring the golden fleece for her family. And then she starts as a nurse aide, you know? She goes to school for 6 weeks or 8 weeks to become a nurse aide. And then she's pregnant. While she's doing the nurse aide, she's giving birth to a child. Then she finishes the nurse aide. She continues to get her LPN. She gets the second child. She continues and gets her RN. She gets the fourth child. Then she continues and gets a master's degree. She gets the fifth child. And during this period, the person that brought her is sitting at home, sometimes chauffeuring her around to monitor when she is and where she's coming from. Sometimes, you know, pushing her. Why have you not passed your NCLEX? What is wrong with you? You know, are you a dummy? Who of VNOs go to school. Why not? But I mean, this is the pattern. So the nurses, you see this conflict over how money is spent. Some of the women, the nurses said that the men joke and call them their ATM. See? Okay. I call them their ATM. But at the root of this, really, is patriarchy. Patriarchy, that makes the woman a property, okay? I went home, I married her, I paid bride price, and then I brought her to America. So I own her, she's answerable to me, okay? And the woman is very grateful. She works very hard. At the beginning, it's okay. But gradually, you have to work so hard. Nursing is a very taxing, physically and emotionally and mentally taxing profession. And it is, when people scream about the money, people, I'm a professor, I went to school, I got my PhD. People go, why are you not doing bedside nursing? I said, the money you guys are hackling about, to make it, you have no life. You work around the clock, and then you flaunt it, and people do not know how hard you work to make that money. And then, of course, you want to show how much money you've made. You buy that big car they can barely afford. And then you have to work harder to pay it off. Then you move from your small house to a bigger house. So your husband can, the husband have to show that they've made it. And then you have to work even harder to make that money. Meanwhile, you're working your butt off. You're expected to come home and take care of the children. You're expected to come home and have sex, Hey, come on. You finish work. You come home, you take care of the kids, you feed them, you feed Mr. And then you go to bed exhausted and tired, and Mr. says, come on, let's do this. And you say, I'm tired. Then, why? You must be seeing someone else. You must be unfaithful to me. Or you've been so controlled and you just have no joy. Some of them like, this man have no idea how to express love. There's this cultural thing. Yeah, in Africa, Africans don't kiss. We don't hold hands. But we are in a culture. So there is a cultural clash. Acculturation pace is different. The women are acculturating. People call it feminism. They begin to hear and see that, come on, actually, I have a right here. I have a voice. And they begin to assert those rights and begin to assert those voices. And they are called arrogant. When you've been bruised, when you find your voice, nobody's going to take it away from you.
That's right.
And then the system that protects you is supposed to protect you. Okay, gives you custody of the house, custody of the children, and the man goes berserk. He becomes vindictive. I made you and I'm going to destroy you. That is it. I am not saying that nurses are perfect. Anita will tell you some of the things that we're trying to do to at least take care of our own end of the problem. Okay? Teach about self-care. Teach about moderating those times so you can be able to take care of your children. Think about financial planning so that you could actually have a safe refuge. Not just let's spend. And then you got to spend more. Work harder to make it. They talk about some said, I want to leave, but if I leave, my family will kill me because we're not allowed. You're not expected to. And I owe this man everything. He brought me here, so I'm not going to leave. So they stay until they are killed. When they cannot stay anymore, then they begin to say, you know what, I've had enough. And they die. Because this man said, okay, after all I've done for her, she's not going to take my child. The child becomes his. She's not going to take my child and my home that I've worked hard for. And that's where the vindictiveness starts. So, really, and you look at the poor mental health status. You see, when there's this educational gap, the guy is progressing, the woman is making progress, the guy is stifled states. And there's absolutely no reason for it in America, for places where you would come. My grandmother would come to America and go to school. Because there's system, not like back home. There's adult education, there's GED, you can move. Why are we not encouraging our men to be the best that they can be? So that as their wife progresses, they don't feel smaller. Because when people feel smaller and don't feel good about themselves, they want to drag the other person down. And when there's this role reversal, when a woman becomes the breadwinner, she doesn't even know how to handle that power. Because that also is the power. And so what is the role of the new man? Not just in America, not just among Nigerian women, even back home. As we empower women, what is happening to the men? We must also find ways to empower the men to be able to adjust to their new role in this, as we're making this shift, because it's causing upheaval. And there's a few things that Nigerian nurses have, that in North America have been doing, little bits, but we're taking little steps. And hopefully, we gradually, with the support of the system, we might be able to make more progress. Anita will tell you some of the things that we're doing and plan to do. Thank you.